Okay, so as you know, we are getting ready for the holiday of Shavuot, which is on Sunday night, I think. And we're excited to have you join us if you are coming. So today, I want to talk about the topic of this week. So you know, between Passover and Shavuot, Passover is when the Jews left Egypt. Shavuot is when the Jews got the Torah. So in each week, we work on a different Kabbalistic energy, which means God manifests himself in this world in different ways. One way is through Chesed, Gevura, there's Tiferet, all these different words that are very powerful. Just to say the word Chesed is power. Gevura means restriction or discipline. Tiferet means balance and harmony. And then you have Netzach, which means victory, and Hod. These are powerful words. These are words that we work on every single week, separately, until we get to Shavuot. Okay? These are every week we work on a different energy. So this week is the final week before we get to Shavuot, and it's the energy of Malchut. Malchut means kingship. Okay? So we're going to talk about being a king and what that means. What does that mean for us? What does kingship mean? It's an energy that we need to bring in the world. And I want everyone to leave tonight with that energy on a high and say, yes, I have kingship. Or sovereignty is another way that they translate the word Malchut. Okay, sovereignty. So I want to ask everybody here, what defines sovereignty? If you see someone, you say, wow, that person, or let's forget, what defines a king? A king, queen. Oh, okay, maybe lineage. Okay.
The people.
What?
Having a people.
Having a people, a status. Okay, we're going to get to that in a second. Yeah. Anyone else? Power. So we say this is very important because when we mention God, when we make a bracha, we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech. We call God a king. What does that mean that we call God a king?
Ruler.
So what's the rule? What's the word for a ruler? Is that different than a king? A ruler is a dictator.
That's true.
What's the difference between a dictator or a ruler and a king?
A king answers to God, but a dictator answers to himself.
Okay, that's in the wow, that's beautiful. Ooh. All this noise is for you, by the way. So a king is somebody that accepts God on top of him. That's true. Humility. We're getting there. And a ruler is a dictator. So we say every time that we pray in Tehillim, in Psalms, it says that for us, we treat God like a king. But many people in the nations, they treat God like a ruler. The difference between a king and a ruler is, one of them is, the king is chosen by the people. We crown you. We want you. A ruler isn't chosen by the people. He chooses himself over the people. Right? He could be at the beginning chosen by the people, but then at some point, he's a ruler because he's ruling over. He's a dictator. He's forcing his way over the people. Yes, Alan?
But wasn't David a Melech? Why wasn't he chosen by God? That was the whole controversy.
That's true. And David HaMelech is the epitome of kingship. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. David, in the Jewish story, was a king. Okay, at some point he became a king, and there was a little fight amongst the people that didn't want him to be king. But David, in his greatness, accepted. He said, whatever they want, they want. He didn't fight it. He didn't fight it at all. But at the end, David, after 33 years of being sick, also, and he was for 40 years of his life, he was a king. So we'll talk about David in a second because that's kingship. Okay, so who's the ultimate king? God. Okay, yes, I know you are, I know. But God is the ultimate king. So what does that mean? There's fake kings, there's kings that think they're a king, but they're not really. Do you know what that would be?
Celebrities.
Okay, they think they're...
I dated.
Okay. So we said that the people choose him. Or someone said here that he has a lineage. That makes you a king. You know, there's many things that by paper it's true, but in reality it's different. By paper there are people that are married, but because they had the ceremony and everything, but really in reality, and halachically they will be called married, but in reality they just share the same house. They got used to each other and they just share the bills. They happen to have kids together. But really, on paper they're married. But they just go through life together. They're not really in a relationship. That can happen. Or there's people that I know who told me, I have a biological father, but that's not my dad. That's very sad. I have a biological mother, but they're not really my parents. That's very sad. What does that mean? That in reality, by paper, you had me as a baby, but to me, in the way that we had a relationship or whatever it was, maybe they left me, it's almost like a surrogate. You know, some people are a surrogate. They have a surrogate, and then the baby is complete. We used the mom to carry me as a baby and give birth to me, but really, I'm not. DNA-wise, yeah, we have the same. There are many. So there's a king that by paper, you know, he sits in his castle and he has his beautiful palace, right, by paper. But is he really there for the people? That doesn't necessarily always happen. Okay, he's not really there as a king. He doesn't really use his power. Oh, it reminds me of England. You know, the King of England, whatever. So it's just by paper, but there's a king that has a palace and has the title, but in reality doesn't. Same with marriage, same with a parent. There are many things like that. But God obviously is not like that. When we say God is king, what we mean, and this is I'm telling you all of this stuff so that we can really get to the point of our life, what this means to me and you. Okay? But when we say God is king, and we mention kingship, he's involved truly in everything. Not just partly, truly. Right? If there's a creator, we could talk about the proofs that there's a creator. But if there is a creator of the universe, that means my thoughts, he's involved with, although my thoughts are really the thing that I really can do. But who gave me the synaptic connections in my brain, my health, my heart, my body, my movement, everything, every baby, every seed that eventually becomes a child, the zygote, right? Whatever it is that you have that comes and forms into a baby is unbelievable. If you think about everything in this world, that's what we mean when we say king. Because a king isn't just sitting in his palace and saying, oh, I created it all. I'm involved in it all. And I'm truly involved in it all. That's what kingship means. Okay, so now we have to ask ourselves, what is this value? We have a lot of values that we spoke about. There's 7 different ways that God integrates in the world. He shows himself. One of them is chesed, giving, flow. No boundaries. Like water has no boundary. And then you put the water in a cup. The cup becomes a boundary for the water. Everything in this world has these godly energies in it. Yes, Debbie? Is there anything? Okay. Everything in this world has godly energy in it. There's a godly energy of kingship in this world, and we need to tap into that. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. Okay? So, how do I become more king-like or more sovereign? We're not God, and we're not involved in everything. So what does it mean that I have kingship, royalty? Can anyone here tell me what's a royal person? A person with royalty. And I'm not talking about lineage. Doesn't have to have any lineage of royalty. Modest, class, calmness.
Charisma.
Oh, confidence, charisma. That's beautiful.
Someone who is aware of their senses and present in the moment.
Aware of their senses. Okay, this is what we want to get, because we are called also Mamlechet Kohanim. We're also called, as a Jewish people, we're meant to be royal. I'll never forget, someone said to me once, sitting, whatever, it's funny, but I was sitting with a guy and he's like, Rabbi, you know, I don't know how long I can live in LA. You have to be really wealthy to live in LA. So I said, I'm not. He says, come on, you're very wealthy. And the image, maybe, I told him, maybe the image I'm giving you right now whilst I'm speaking to you is giving you a portrayal that I'm wealthy. There are people that don't have a penny to their name and they are royal. That can happen. There's people with not much money, but they are royal. And that's the energy I want to speak about today. Okay, so kingship. Kingship means, I am not God, that's true. But it means I see what I can do. I can see my own energy and attend to it fully. Just like God sees his own energy and does it all. When I do something, I do it properly. I live to my potential. That's someone who's royal. I believe and understand my energy and what I can do, and then I live up to it. We all know that not everyone here is the same. Every person here is different. The great Rabbi Sacks says like this. This is a great quote of Rabbi Sacks. Wow. The beauty of creation is to recognize the unity above brings diversity below. The greatness of a human being is to understand that we're all one really from a source, but here in this world we're all very different. That means as a Jew, I and you are completely different. We're all very different. Every human being is different. But we all have potential and we all have energy that we can live and pull up to. Why? Because we all come from one source. That is royalty. Understanding I'm different. I don't need to be like you. I'm happy in my skin. I'm happy with who I am. I don't need to be you. I'm not trying to be you. I'm truly happy with who I am and I'm living to my potential. That's royalty. And everyone can bring that out in themselves. Okay, so that's what we wanted to. Listen to what Rabbi Twersky says. Wow. He says like this. Seeing what you're capable of, this is very important for self-understanding and awareness. Knowing what you are capable of has nothing to do with self-image, or what he calls self-consciousness. Dr. Rabbi Twersky was a professional psychologist, and this is what he said. He says, change your self-image to self-concept. Change your self-consciousness to self-awareness. Let me explain what that means. He says like this, there's no truth, there's no value in thinking less of yourself or more of yourself. That's not a value. There's no virtue, which is truth. Right? There's no moral in saying I'm less than what I really am. That's not moral. That's just not moral at all. Or I am so much better than what I really am. That's not moral at all. What we do a lot of times is we create an image in our head. We label ourselves. I cannot do this. I'm incapable of doing this. We label ourselves. And we basically think of it as this is who I am, when it's not. It's a self-image that I'm creating that really just lowers me to who I really am. He says like this. We must have a concept of our inner internal reality. And he gives an example. Let's say a kid goes into school and he realizes math is not for him. He should never be told to say, you can never do this. And he should never say to himself, I can't do it. This problem is something I can't do. That's not what a kid should say. The kid should say, I'm learning how to do it, but I'm not there yet. So this is what a royal person, hi, welcome. So this is what a royal person will do. A royal person will be on the phone, let's say with his boss, and his boss gives him a bunch of demands. Okay, and says, can you do this, this, this? And he's speaking too fast. What would a royal person do? He's speaking too fast. I don't get what he's saying. What would a royal person do?
Give the phone to his assistant.
No, so what a royal person would say, I'm sorry, I'm finding it very, very hard to understand what you're saying. I would love if you could say it a little slower so I can understand. And he will not budge. A royal person will not budge. I believe I will be able to understand if you're able to explain it a little more. Can you please repeat it again, please? A royal person will not budge from his willingness to understand and learn what the person has to say. I know I am capable of understanding. It just takes time. What does a person who's not royal do? They say, yeah, to the boss. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, no problem. I don't know what he was saying. And then that person goes and tries to do the job. And what happens? Fail. A royal person's able to stay on the phone and say, I'm sorry, I didn't understand, please repeat. I'm looking at you, Yarden. You could say, I'm sorry, Hebrew is not, English is not my first language. I would love to you explain it again. Royalty, and you do that. Royalty means you recognize your space and you say, it's not that I'm incapable, I just need more time to learn. That's called channeling your self-title, self-image that you've given for yourself, but really transitioning it to self-awareness. Self-awareness means I can learn if I really put time into this. Self-awareness means I am capable. Many people can do it. Why can't I? I could do it. That's self-awareness. Digging deep into yourself, recognizing who you are, and having the confidence. That's royalty. And we need to be able to do that, okay? So if I want to live to my fullest potential, I need to take responsibility of my energy that I have and bring it out. We had a guy that was here that got married to one of our young professionals, and he lost his legs. Was anyone here when you heard about him? Ariel Berkowitz. So I was one, for the time that he was here, before he got married, he stayed by us. Thank God, amazing guy. Amazing person. He'll be actually coming back in a few weeks. Next week? 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think next week.
Okay, next week he's coming back actually to be here with his wife now, married. So a beautiful couple. He doesn't have legs, he has prosthetic legs, and he does great. And he's full of confidence. So I was one morning, the day before his wedding, pushing him. And he says to me, Rabbi, is it okay for me to pray to God to do a miracle and bring me my legs back? So I said to him, that's not something we can pray for. Because we can't pray for something that's outside of reality. You can't pray that suddenly I can have wings and I can fly and travel. If I don't have it, I don't have it. It's not something I can. And he said that, that's amazing. There's things you can pray for, right? It says you can pray for making more money. But you can't pray for something which is a complete miracle outside of the norm of reality. That's beyond, right? That's called tfilat shava, a prayer of waste. I have a child, I'm pregnant, and I know that my baby is a boy. I already did after 40 days, the Talmud says, you already can't pray for the child to be a boy or a girl, because it's already biologically already that way. Well, nowadays, I don't know what people might pray. But reality is, after 40 days, according to Jewish law, you cannot pray for the child to change. That's why an M in Hebrew, mother in Hebrew, is Aleph Mem. She comes a mother on the 41st day of pregnancy. That's why she's called an M, comes from the father is only at birth. That's when he comes the father, because till the birth, the baby, the fetus is connected to the mother. It's like a limb of the mother. At birth, the father comes, Aleph Bet. The father, which is one, now becomes two. He has a child. Okay? So a mother is M. When after the 40th day? You can't pray after 40 days for the gender of the child to be different. Why? Because it's already happened. So that's what I told him. What he understood, though, was, I get it, Rabbi. And he as I was walking, he said it. I gotta live with whatever God has given me. That's called Malchut. Every single one of us has limitations. We all have limitations. Every person here is limited in certain ways. But accepting what God has given you and move with it is called Malchut. Being able to completely live in your fullest with all of what you have, that's royalty. And to be accepting of it, that's called royalty. So that's the energy, because we are not God, but we are in the image of God. And in the image of God is whatever energy you have, you bring it out. And you do it fully. And we're going to be speaking about this in a few angles so that we can really get to this idea. Malchut is a way you project yourself. It's not an action like all the other sfirot, like we mentioned. Chesed is a kind thing, right? Being kind. Gvura is discipline. Tiferet, harmony. These are all things that we actually act on and bring into the world. Malchut is a reflection of all those things in me. Okay? I have all of these energies. I recognize all of these energies in me. How do I bring that out? Kingship is like the moon. The moon is reflecting all the energy it's getting from the sun. It's reflecting the light from the sun back out to the world, but fully. Right? Whatever it does, whatever it can, in whatever place and space it does whatever it's meant to. That's called Malchut. Malchut means I'm bringing out whatever I have in me. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, all the actions in me. They say Shabbat is Malchut because you have the 6 days. They represent the 6 levels of growth, of spiritual growth. Is that for me?
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Is it for me to be quiet? Okay. So Malchut, Shabbat is like Malchut. It's all the week. I work on my different energies of each day, represent a different energy. And Shabbat, I bring out who I really am. I get to see who I really am. That's Malchut. Listen to this. I'm going to blow your mind. This is not from a Jewish source, it's a Jewish guy, but not from a Jewish thinking source. Listen to this. There's a guy by the name Dr. Tal Ben-Sahar. Have you heard of his book called Happiness? Happier. He wrote a book called Happier. Have you heard of it? Anyone here? Okay, listen to this. He created the hamburger model for happiness. I know this sounds crazy, but listen. He was preparing for a squash tournament, and for 1 whole month, he was eating lean. Completely clean. Vegetables, chicken, meat, or whatever it is. I don't know, sorry, vegans. Whatever. Vegetables, he was eating all the good stuff. And he did not eat anything which was fried, not too much bread, only clean bread. Everything was clean. And he planned that after the tournament, he was going to reward himself with a burger. So he was getting ready for the squash tournament. You heard of this book?
No.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Read it, honestly.
Huh?
I need to read it.
Yeah, this is amazing. So he, for like 2 months, he was clean, and his body felt amazing. Working on his squash, whatever, he did really well in the tournament, but didn't win. And then he said, as a reward, he's going to go now to a restaurant, I don't know where it was, and order a burger. But he was so desperate for that burger, he actually ordered 4 different types of burgers. And he has these 4 burgers on his plate. And these are the 4 burgers he sees that they had in the menu. And he looks at them. And he's thinking to himself, do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? Should I do it? I know how it's going to taste great. But I know I'm going to feel horrible after, especially after, you know what it's like when you've eaten clean for so long. And then suddenly you stuff yourself with something you shouldn't be. Ooh, wait. Your stomach. So he's looking at these 4 burgers and he decides I'm not doing it. And then he says, this is the lesson of life. This guy's brilliant. This is the lesson of life. He says, we have what we call the hedonist fatty burger, which means the burger that tastes amazing, delicious, but it's horrible afterwards. And you'll get what I mean. Tastes great now, but it's going to make me feel terrible after, and it's not good for me at all. He called that the hedonist burger. There are people like that. Then he sees another burger, which was the vegan burger, and he called it the tasteless, vegan, healthy burger. And what he said about this burger is, I suffer now, but I'll feel good after. And he calls that the rat racer. I'm going to explain each one of these. This is mind-blowing. The rat racer. Only thinking of the result and not really thinking of now. Then he had the worst of all hamburgers, tasted horrible now, and knew that it's going to feel bad after. It was probably like gefilte fish with something inside it in the middle. Okay? It's going to make me feel really... I'm Sephardic, sorry. It's going to make me feel really bad afterwards. So bad now, bad after. What did he call that? The nihilist burger. And then finally he had the happiness burger. What's the happiness burger? Tastes good now. Huh?
The kosher one.
The kosher one. Oh, that's it. You got the story. I'm done. Right, the kosher burger it tastes good now, and it's going to taste really good later. That's what he called the happiness burger. So the rat racer is like the person that goes to school, hates it, but what is he thinking of? The rat racer is the guy that eats the burger that feels... it's like the tasteless vegan burger, right? That thinks about later. So why is he going to school? Yeah, eventually I'll get a good job. That's what he's thinking. Going to work, so eventually I'll make some good money. I get to know you, so eventually I have good connections that will give me, that's all. It's only for the end result. And he says that rat racer doesn't find joy in the present. They suffer in the present. But that's not Malchut. That's not kingship. And I want to tie this into the idea of kingship. Kingship says, I know that I'm looking for a good result, but I need to enjoy the process too. Kingship says it's not only being at the top of the mountain, bless you, it's not only about being at the top of the mountain, it's finding joy in the process of getting up the mountain. And he says that the rat race is not living an ideal life. And by the way, that's exactly what Malchut is. Royalty is not only result-based. Imagine going out and someone, you're not for me. Okay, see you later. Right? Has anyone been through that? Well, what is that called? Not royal. That's what it's called. It's not Malchut. I know someone who used to come to Ishle. He got married now. And he went out with a girl that wasn't for him, but he said, I've got a friend for you. And that friend married that girl. And I went to him and I said, you did such a great move. You're going to find your shidduch too.
And he did.
And he did, not because of me, but because he's a great guy. And I believe that that's what the energy of royalty is going to cause a lot of attraction. And he did. He found his soulmate. And actually, I did his wedding. Beautiful. Thank God. So he felt for someone else, and he found his own shidduch himself. That's royalty. Royalty means I don't only think of the result. That's horrible. I need to think of the moment also in every act I do. Henny Machlis, have you heard of her? She used to have hundreds of people in her house. She passed away. She had 13 kids.
The Malchut family in Jerusalem.
Machlis family in Jerusalem. Malchut, actually, interesting. Sounds like Malchut, kingship. The family, till today, they're still doing it, but she passed away. She had 13 kids. And she had a small apartment in Jerusalem. And every single week for Shabbat, she would have over 100 people in this apartment. All types, Jews, not Jews. People were sleeping in a car downstairs. They didn't have anywhere to sleep. They had a family van. On Shabbat, people sleeping there. Her son-in-law says, and he remembers asking his mother-in-law when he just got getting married to her daughter, can I have the keys for the van? I need to borrow the van. He says, sure, no problem. Takes the keys, goes in there. He turns the engine on. All of a sudden, 3 people from the back pops up. Hey, what are you doing? He says, that's how much love this house had. Unlimited chesed. You have to read the story. There's a book that they made about Henny Machlis, an amazing woman. She used to prepare all the food. She didn't have money. She prepared everything. But do you know what was great about her? She always made a point to sing when she's making the chicken. When she was making the food, the process, it's not only about the result of making the food and then having the people come and smiling to them, but the process, the food. And how do you think the guests felt? Do you think they didn't? Do you think it's nice? Do you think guests feel it or don't feel it? When for 2 hours before they come, you're like, I can't believe I said I'm going to do this event. I'm cooking for the whole world. And then this one's coming, that one's... And then when they come, hi. Right? Do you think they don't feel it? Of course they feel it. A real person feels the process of what I'm doing is with royalty also. It's with joy. That's royalty. Okay? So the rat racer is no good for many reasons. Because the rat racer only thinks of result, never cares about the moment and the present also. Then you've got the hedonist who's eating that delicious fatty burger but knows that it's going to be horrible for me afterwards. It feels good now. What's that? Most people in? We won't say. In McDonald's. Oh, that's McDonald's now. McDonald's is bad now, bad later. I don't know. I've never tried it. Hedonist seeks, right? Western civilization is very much into seeking now momentary pleasure. Feels good now, feels good now, feels good. What are they seeking? Feelings, sensations. But those kind of people, their relationships don't last long. Why? Because it's exciting at the beginning and then what happens in the long run? Dies down. They are like what we call, this is one of the reasons why relationships break so often in the world, is what we call the disposable generation. Which means we have a cup, I'm living to the idea that I'm teaching, and I drink from it, and then I throw it out. I made a bracha before. And then I throw it out. Right? That's called, we never used to do that. Disposable generation is a new thing. By the way, we use always disposables in the house. And one guy once went crazy with me. What are you doing? What are you doing? Disposables, how dare you? It's bad for the environment. So I said to him, I care so much about people. Right now, I care more about people than I can possibly for the environment. That's why you're here. So I care for the environment, but I do care about people too. So that's why we call our generation in some ways the disposable generation. We have one thing, it doesn't work, let's throw it out. We'll just order another one on Amazon. Well, not anymore, because it went up in price. Okay, disposable, and it's also junky. It really is disposable. It never used to be disposable. Amazon, okay. Well, I hope YouTube doesn't. Okay, so disposable stuff means that it feels good now, but in the long run, it won't last. I seek sensations, but that person won't have real deep connection to people, because deep connection to people means that it's not always only height and exciting and feelings and, right, in real life, that's not how a relationship works. It has its ups and downs. Life has its ups and downs, and you have to work on it all the time. Okay, so then the bad burger, which tastes horrible now and tastes terrible later, is what we call the nihilist, which is a person who's deeply troubled by his past. And he says, my life is so bad, nothing's going to come good from it in the future either. Those type of people date someone they know is wrong for them, but they say, at least I've got this. Okay, it's called the skeptic or the cynic. At least I have this person. And I don't think, anyway, it's been so bad, I don't think I'm going to get better anyway. Okay, so that is called the nihilist. The nihilist is, he's chained to his past, and he's skeptical about his future, and he feels despair and no control of his life. But that's not royalty. What did Dr. Viktor Frankl, one of the best books that were written in our generation, Man's Search for Meaning, again, another Jew. What did he say? Listen to what he said. This is a quote from him. Someone who should have been a nihilist, who should have felt bad now as well and bad about the future, but he didn't. And he says like this, I want to simply convey to the reader, by the way, he says about his own book, by the way of concrete examples, that life holds a potential meaning under any conditions. Even the most miserable ones. He was in the Holocaust. He was in 4 camps, I'll tell you in a second. And I thought that if the point were demonstrated in a situation as extreme as that in a concentration camp, which is how he made his book, my book might gain a hearing. I therefore felt responsible for writing down what I have gone through, because I thought it might be helpful to people who are prone to despair. And after being in 4 camps, what did he learn? What was his book about? Man's Search for Meaning. His book was like this. This is his final conclusion. The longest to survive in the Holocaust were those that had something to live for. No matter what your situation is, it's hard now, but there's a meaning, there's a purpose to live for, there's something to hope for. After the Holocaust, those that actually were most productive with their lives that he knew were the very ones that had something to live for whilst they were in the Holocaust. They were the ones that were most productive. A nihilist mentality is not royal. A nihilist mentality says, my life is bad, makes it much worse, and sits on the floor and says, it's over. There's no point in my future. I can't make myself look good anymore. I'm angry with myself. I don't want to look good. I don't want to shower. I want to smell bad. I want to be on the streets. I feel like I'm worthless. That's a nihilist mentality, and it's not royal. And even someone who's poor, or in whatever situation they're in, they can have royalty to them. You wouldn't know it. And then finally, the happiness burger. What's the happiness burger?
The kosher one.
The kosher one. Dr. Ben Saar says, sometimes we ignore the present for the sake of a larger gain in the future. That's true. I save money, I put that money away, so I can save money for a bigger thing in the future. That's good. But in general, our objective is to have joy now as much as we should in the future. And that is the objective. It's not only about getting... How many people made it? And then what did they do when they made it to the top? Right, or they committed suicide. They're like, I worked so hard to get here, and then that's it. That's it. It's not about getting to the top. It's about the journey. And finding joy and purpose in your journey itself. That is what Malchut is. Enjoying the process. Who was the ultimate guy of kingship? David. David HaMelech. And he wrote a book called Tehillim that billions of people read until today. Not just Jews. If only Jews would read Tehillim, many Jews would read Tehillim like the Christians do. Oh, that would be nice. Right? Because they know verses, they know the chapters. We don't realize what we have. A book written by an angel. His name was David, and he went through it all. He was rejected by his family, left alone on the side. He was considered an outsider. They thought that his mother was with someone else, was in an illicit relationship. And they said, that's why he's different. He looks different. They put him aside, and that's how David grew up. And he wrote Tehillim. He said, no, I'm not giving up. I have a purpose in my life. I'm going to cling unto God no matter where I am. My sheep are my people. And he looked after his sheep. And he cared for them. And he looked after them, sang to them. And as soon as one was missing, he brought it back to him. He literally found the good in every moment and his connection to God in every moment. And then, eventually, he became king, and he didn't give up then. Even then, he found his connection to God. He saw his purpose in every situation, and he succeeded. Why? Because he was always connected to godliness. So that, my friends, is what Malchut is. Listen to what Rabbi Twersky, the doctor that I mentioned before. He wrote a book called I'd Like to Call for Help, but I don't know the number. This is what he says. What is spirituality? He says, spirituality is when a person exercises their unique features. That's being spiritual. Spirituality is the implementation of distinctive features that separate you from an animal. If I recognize who I am and what my potential is and live to it, I am being royal. I don't care what other people are doing. I don't care that other people are better looking or cooler or smarter. They have a better IQ. My IQ is my IQ, and I'm thrilled with it. I'm dancing with it. And whatever I have, I dance with. That's royalty. That doesn't mean I don't change. I don't look to improve. But I live my energy to its potential, like the moon reflects the sun to exactly how it's meant to. That's exactly us reflecting all the energy we have in us, and we bring it out. That's what royalty is. There are many stories of this. I could tell you of my Shira's grandmother. As soon as I only knew her for a few years, because after she got to see Debbie, did she see Ruti too? When I got to know her, we were engaged, and she was already in her late 90s. Very, very old lady and very holy lady. And she was with it 100% in her mind. She lived in Jerusalem in the corner of Bari Land, like an old neighborhood. And she had a vine coming out into her. She was very royal into her window. I always remember that. A very royal lady. And I remember going to her for the first time. Me and Shira came like a new couple, and we were just dating, and we sat there with her, and she said, Shalom. She sits there very nice, with Hebrew, and looking at me and saying hello. And then all of a sudden, she turns away. It was a small apartment. She turns away to the other side, and she says, No, I don't want to bother you. I want you guys to enjoy your. She says her thing, and then gives you the space. That's royalty. Royalty is, I know my place, I know exactly what I need to do, and when I need to move out, I move out. I know what my purpose is. And she filled her purpose by inviting us and having us sit there, and then that was it. And then, every 2 minutes, I don't want to disturb you, you need to do your own thing. And she said, yeah, look at each other, that's it. And she walked away. That's called royalty. Royalty is being able, I could tell you many. A great rabbi that I know, who was one of my rabbis, Rav Mordechai Eliyahu Zichrono Livracha. He was one of my rabbis in Israel when I was there, the chief rabbi of Israel, very holy man. His son grew up with his father, who was a very spiritual man, lived his life to his fullest. His son says, for the first time, he remembers going to his friend's house, and he sees his friend's dad on the couch. It's not a bad thing, but just understand royalty. He sees his friend's dad on the couch with his legs up, and he was fixated on his friend's dad. And his friend's dad realized, he says, what do you think? Everyone's like your dad. We're all like your father. This is what most people do. They relax on the couch, they lift their legs up. And he said for hours on end, he was thinking about this image of his friend's father with his legs up on the couch. Not that it's bad, but someone who's royal, who lives to his fullest potential, is so busy with living his life to his fullest potential, you wouldn't see him do that. Every minute is being spent either with someone, He could be sitting on the couch talking to his children 100%. That's royal too. It was fully present in every aspect of his life, but never just, I'm not on that level. And I think that's an amazing level to be on, but that's what royalty is. I'm saying we should know at least what we can thrive for. I don't know if, we can get there, but we can at least thrive. That's what royalty is. Like God, his energy is always involved in everything, in exactly living to its potential. The energy is always coming out at its fullest. We need to bring all of our energy out to its fullest. That's when we feel royal. That's really the story. I could tell you many stories like this, but I'm going to leave it. And bless you all that we should have royalty in our life. And it literally will bring more, it entails bringing more godliness, but it will literally bring more respect for yourself as well. And that's who we are as a Jewish people also. It's irrelevant of how much you make. It's how you hold yourself, how you portray yourself. It's irrelevant of how much you've done. It's about you, yourself, not comparing to anyone. In yourself, what you bring into this world. Okay, so is there any questions about royalty? Anyone want to have thoughts? Yes, please. Thank you.
More of a comment.
Yes.
The Malchut family, I went there.
Oh,
twice,
beautiful.
And it's unbelievably small.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I think it's maybe like the size of over here. I mean, you couldn't get up from where you were
Yeah.
sitting once you sat.
They bring the water to wash hands.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was incredible. But I had a neighbor that she dated this guy, and they were gonna get engaged.
Uh-huh.
And then they did a certain test that Ashkenazis do, and it was not
Called Doya Sharim.
right.
Right.
Or, yeah, and then they couldn't get married, and she was heartbroken. And the dad of this guy liked her so much. He's like, I'm gonna help her find her zivug. So he
Wow.
had a guy in the shul that is, first of all, this guy and her look completely different. You would never think that they would
Match.
like each other or match or anything. And he's like, I have a girl for you. And they got married.
Wow.
So it's
That's royalty.
yeah.
That's
Sorry.
royalty.
Yeah.
That's exactly the example of royalty. Being able to see that this didn't work for my... By the way, that's a very heartbreaking situation, but that's a reality. Also, royalty is to accept there is a condition that makes us incompatible. It means that our children will be unhealthy, and therefore we can't do it just shows you, by the way, it's not that love is everything. Yes. Yeah. It's not that love is everything. Love is important, but it's not everything. We see that here someone really was attracted to someone, but but it's not everything. If you know that the person you're really, really attracted to is gonna be incompatible to you because of some kind of problem, default, so then you won't be able to do it, and you'll be able to overcome that, right? So that's a very important idea. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Yes.
You talk about being able to between four categories of people. Somebody that's maybe having a hard time enjoying the journey, right?
Right.
What's something somebody can do to embrace that journey a little bit when they are going through something?
Right. So, look, if someone goes to the gym, it's not only the result of the gym that makes you feel good. It's actually the sweat and the joy of the workout that makes you feel good. Now, if somebody's coming from outside of space and sees you in the gym, they'll be like, wait a second, what are you doing here? Are these weights actually, you lift them up and down, up and down, up and down? Are you getting money for that? Who's paying? No, you say, no, I'm not getting money. I'm actually paying. I'm paying to be here. And then this alien's like, oh my gosh. You're paying to be in this gym? Huh?
I paid for a lot of marathons.
Yeah, you pay for a lot of marathons. So wait a second, you're paying to kill yourself? What's going on over here? And he's thinking, what? And the answer is that the alien doesn't know what your journey is. You need to figure out, right? The person that's working out knows what his journey is. The alien doesn't know what is he doing? Up, down, up, down. He doesn't understand the journey. But the thing is, the person that's working out understands the journey. In order to enjoy the workout, you've got to know why you're doing it. Okay, so one of the greatest answers to finding royalty or joy in your process of your life is to understand why you're doing it. Mrs. Machlis, Rebbetzin Henny Machlis, found joy in the chicken that she was cooking because she saw that she's creating lives by feeding people. She's not just feeding people. So really the big question should be, why am I doing the things that I do? What am I living for? What am I in this world for in the first place? When a person finds purpose in his life in the first place, he will find joy in his journey. And the way to do that is by learning more, by studying more Torah, understanding what God's mission is, asking the big question, what does God want from me? Why did he put me in this world? What is my purpose? A guy that thinks I have zero purpose in this world, I'm just randomly here, then yeah, I don't get it. What is your journey? I don't get it. Why are you training so hard? What are you doing all this for? Working for your boss and daily and coming back, but if you see that there's a reason for me being in this world, there's a purpose and there's a higher goal of this world, studying Derech Hashem, the way of God, and all these books which will give you the idea of what we're in this world for, then you'll have a direction, 100%. So I believe Torah study and listening to podcasts and coming to this and doing stuff like that will really enhance your journey and making you realize that the journey itself, what am I doing all of this for? Why am I in this rat race going to work every day, answering all these calls, or whatever job you have? Whatever job it is, you have to have an answer for why you do it. By the way, people say, love your job and then never work for a day or whatever it is. Yeah, but it's false, because not every job is possible to, you might love it at the beginning, and then at some point it's just monotonous. You can't love it, right? It's not, but you can love it if you know why you're in this world. I saw a guy that used to have a cart in Oregon, he used to sell falafel, and he was the happiest guy in the world. There was another guy, a few stores down, and he was selling his thing, and he was the most unhappy person in the world. They're both doing the same job. It's because one understands his reason of why he's in this world, and has a reason for his work. He's got a family or whatever it is. He's bringing reason to his work. The other one didn't. Okay, anyone else? Any other questions? Yeah.
What happens in dating if, like, you're just not meeting royalty, you're just meeting lots of servants?
When you say servants, you mean the opposite of royalty?
Yeah, I don't mean, for me,
Right.
For me, a loser is someone who's not a gentleman. A man who's not a gentleman, to me, that I don't care how much money you have or how great you are. If you're not a gentleman, to me, you're nothing.
Right.
To me.
So let me just tell you something.
They're everywhere, Rabbi. They really are.
So let me just tell you something. As a rabbi, I meet many people. I'm not dating, thank God. I've got a beautiful wife and
Your wife.
all the time with excitement. She's an amazing woman. By the way, her name's Shira Malka. Her name's Shira Malka, Queen. So she has royalty. But I'm not dating, but I do meet people all the time, and I want to see if they're people that I want to have around. Like, I want all Jews around, but there's a certain point where you think twice. So one of the things I want to know is if the person's Jewish. Like, why? I'm not trying to make you Jewish. If you're Jewish, fine, but I'm not trying to. Okay, the second thing I want to know is if you're interested. If you're really not interested and you're just angry and you hate God and Judaism, then maybe this is not for you. Okay, obviously a person, that one more or less is welcome, but you have to really understand what they mean when they're not interested, like interested in their connection with me. So why are you coming? And the third thing I try and find out is if they're healthy. And how do I know if someone's not healthy? I don't judge, and everyone's going through challenges. Everyone's on, in America especially, everyone's taking stuff. It's fine. And a lot of people are, that's not what I mean by unhealthy. I'll tell you what my sign for unhealthy is, and this could be something that you can use also for dating. Unhealthy is when someone has a challenge in their life and they are digging very deep into that challenge continuously and consistently. So I have toxic parents, and when you're on a date, that person's continuously digging into that toxicity of their parents. And they're digging into this, they're building this little world of whilst you're talking to them, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so when there's a continuous, consistent, deep thought into their problem, then we understand you have a problem, but maybe it's not being dealt with. It can be dealt with, but it needs to be dealt with. So my sign of someone who's very unhealthy is if they're consistently digging into their problem that they're going through.
Talking mentally?
Yeah.
And what do you
Obviously
mean
without judgment, but that can be treated. It can be helped with. Everyone, I would know that they need help. Does this make sense? Anyone? Is anyone any rejections to that? Sorry. Yeah? Yeah, go on.
What do you mean by digging into it?
My parents, they abused me. You just met the girl, right? Or the guy. My parents, they've been abusive to me. They was cursing me, and they did this to me, and then F, and all the language comes out, all the beautiful words start coming out. Then you know that it's too. I just got to know you. Wait, okay. I understand that everyone's got challenges, but that's something which is so deep in your heart, it needs help. You can't just keep it. You need it. I'm not saying you're unhealthy that you can't be fixed, but it's unhealthy in a way that it needs professional, not me, professional help. Yes. Did you want to say something, Amit? That, by the way, I don't want to shut people off from expressing their problems to people. They should, but it has to be done in the right way with the right person, a new person. Not someone you already know, someone you could trust, not just anyone. Okay. Should we call it a night? Okay. Thank you very much.